Welcome to another episode of the Into the Wilderness podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see that I'm doing this intro not from the studio, but from the top of a mountain. Reason being is that we are currently filming one of the episodes of our Into the Wilderness series, which you will be able to see premiere at the British Shooting Show in a week's time. That's really exciting. Daryl and I can't wait to be there and meet people who have been listening to the podcast, and people who haven't seen the show, let them see the show. This podcast, as all of them, is brought to you by the Scottish Association for Country Sports. You need to go and check out their Facebook page if you haven't already and you are a Facebook user, because they have loads of information on there that covers all really relevant and up-to-date issues concerning people who are involved in the countryside. And if you're not a Facebook user, then go over to their website. Just go and Google Scottish Association for Country
Welcome
Sports,
to the Into the Wilderness podcast.
There's
Hello
loads
to
of
all the people watching on YouTube
on
and
there.
everyone else that's
It's a really
downloaded
good
it
way
on
to
iTunes,
keep
Stitcher,
up to
and
date with all
listening on
the latest
SoundCloud. This is the interim show that we were meant to bring you between the two parts of the live show, but we've just brought them slightly closer. And now
so you've actually had you're going to have 3 weeks in a row of our podcast.
Yeah, you are three weeks in a row of the podcast.
It's not going to be normal. We're going to go back to every 2 weeks after this, but there's a very good reason for it. One, we didn't want there was a lot of people who had seen the live phone-in show, so we didn't want that to drag out for too long. For those people who had already seen it,
Yeah,
so you would have had a long period of time where you had nothing new to listen to if you watched the live phone-in at the time when it was live on YouTube.
There's no harm in re-listening. It was quite a long show, actually, so some of you might have actually only listened or watched
part of it because it was very long.
But thank you for everyone that has watched, and that was our first YouTube film that we did, live show.
It was the first time you were able actually to see us
so
on
this
YouTube.
will in fact be the second, which we lied on the other ones because
because there's two. Yeah, but that's only because it was split into two parts, though.
Yeah, it was. So this is technically the first live one. So hello to everyone watching on YouTube, and for everyone that's listening or download, because our huge majority of our listeners come from iTunes. You can now see us on YouTube, but don't stop downloading on iTunes. Carry on listening on iTunes, but you can see us talking away in the studio. And if there's anything,
and you can see the guests as well. More importantly,
you can see the guests if we can get them working, but. The guests, they live all over the world, so we've got some very exciting guests coming up, and we are actually going to talk about them very shortly. Should we talk about them now?
Yeah, we can do. Well, just in case you're expecting a guest to come on, this is going to be very short. This is going to be 20 minutes. Just there's a few things that we want to make everybody aware of, and a few points of discussion that we're going to have.
We're going to talk about various news things that have gone on over the last few weeks, and then also the guests and things that are happening with us.
Yeah, because very excitingly, just to get you all revved up and make sure that you don't miss it, the next podcast that comes out after this, which is going to be on the 11th and 12th of February,
which is the weekend of the British Shooting Show.
It is indeed. We're going to be there.
We will be, so come and say hello.
If you're there, come and say hello to us. We'll be probably on the Fortis and the Vortex. Fortis and Vortex stands. That's where we'll be. But
we also have T-shirts on that have been printed and supplied by Fortis.
Yeah, so you can't miss us because
it's got a picture of our faces.
You got a picture of our faces
on the back of it, and it will have our show and the show sponsors on it as well. Really cool T-shirts, actually.
But back to the guests, which is probably more exciting than that. So that podcast that goes out the weekend of the week of the British Shooting Show is going to be none other than Josh James, the Kiwi Bushman.
We got Josh James coming on. How cool is that?
So yeah, I have to say my brother managed to organize this. He messaged Josh, and he quite amazingly agreed to come on to the podcast, which was fantastic. And he's someone that both of us have watched for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And he's an incredible character. But we won't tell you any more about it because it's going to be all in the next podcast and we talk about it there.
If you don't know who Josh is, type in on YouTube Josh James Kiwi Bushman, and he's got a really good channel. So check it out. It's got so many videos on it. Yeah. And also,
you can watch it ahead of time.
You can watch it ahead of time so you know what we're talking about and the kind of guy he is. But also, you may have seen him on the Discovery Channel because he has, in fact, his own Discovery Channel show, which he goes out into the wild, hunts meat with a British chef, and they try and eat the best they can out in the wilderness. Really good show. Byron hasn't seen it yet, but I have. It's I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it looks good. I'm actually looking forward to catching up on that.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, that's the next guest we've got.
Can we say the guest after that?
Should we? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I suppose we can do.
Let's build it up.
Let's build up. So that's that weekend, and 2 weeks after that, we have another amazing guest on in Michaela from Michaela Hunting, who, if you don't know who that is, although you're probably one of the 150,000 people that already follow her on Facebook, if you are a Facebook user, then check her out on Facebook by looking at Michaela Hunting, or if you watch our friends at Field Sports channel, she's done some films with them, with Charlie. Maybe since I've given Charlie a shout out, he'll share this again.
Yeah, I know. We've been giving Field Sports channel quite a few shout outs, so maybe they...
So, okay, yeah, so, yeah, check her out on Field Sports channel. And also she's got her own YouTube channel as well. So
yeah, I don't think
there's a huge amount of content on there.
I think most of her content...
She does a lot of proper TV, actually.
Yeah, she does.
Especially in her home country. And I think when we spoke to her, I think an Italian hunting program as well.
I think she does more for other people. So I think the best way to watch her is actually on Field Sports channel.
Yeah, so
for the people in this country.
Yeah, if you search her name and then Field Sports channel on YouTube, you'll find some of the videos she's done. In fact, I think she did some hunting with Paul Childley, who I also know. And that's quite a good film, so you can check that one out. I think it was for Chinese water deer.
Yeah. Now, I've got a list of things that we're going to just skim over some of them, just topics that have been coming up. Me and Byron are just going to talk about them.
Daryl's going to have to read them because he wrote them. He wrote them down. It's like a spider with ink on its legs walked across the page.
If I drop this in Egypt, they would actually think they discovered a new scroll. So that's why I'm going to read them out, and then we'll discuss. The first thing I wanted to do, I'm a big fan of this guy. Massive fan. I love the movies he's been in recently. It's because I'm a bit of a Marvel geek, and not just that. He's been in other things before that. Chris Pratt. That's who we're going to talk.
The reason we're going to talk about Chris Pratt is very relevant to all the stuff that we do in the podcast, which is
he's decided that he is only going to eat meat he hunts this year. We're not really going to go into much more than that.
It's a very bold statement. I mean, hat off to him. To make a statement like that is telling the world that, hey guys, I hunt.
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, I didn't see much criticism over that.
No,
release.
I
didn't see. But
it helps he's in America, though.
It does help that he is an American.
It's on Fox News. If any of you want to,
if you really want to watch Fox News.
No, but it's the news article.
Okay, the news article's on there.
If you want to read the news article, I imagine just type in Chris Pratt eating meat or something like that. Or maybe you will actually just find him eating meat. I don't know. But the news article is about him hunting his food for the entire year. I don't know how that works if you go to a restaurant, if you just eat vegetables or something. I'm
not sure, but I mean, it's pretty bold because, we always say that we predominantly eat meat that we've hunted, but it's not 100%. It's very difficult to avoid.
It is very difficult.
We still have, we still eat chicken, and we go. I don't eat out very often, but occasionally you're eating out. So I'm not eating 100% of meat that I've shot myself, and neither is my brother.
No.
So to make that statement is pretty bold. But what we're going to do. And we're not sure if we're going to actually have any luck in this, but we're going to see if we can get Chris Pratt on the podcast.
We've had success.
We've had success on
everyone that we've asked so far.
So we'll try it and see if we can bring you somebody as big as Chris
a Hollywood star, one of the highest grossing.
Please don't be disappointed and stop listening to us if we don't
can't
manage
get Chris
to get
Pratt
Chris
on, because he's actually very funny in interviews as well, from what I've seen. So. He started off pretty much as a comedian on a comedy show. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was pretty beefy, and then he lost a hell of a lot of weight for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
So you're saying he was fat?
He wasn't fat. He was just like he's half the size he is
really?
now.
Let's check that out. I don't know much about him before Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a great movie, by the way.
But in other news, and it's very sad to say this, we bring this in somber news. The Last Defender has been made, which
particularly hurts me as a Land Rover geek, I suppose. I have two.
Hopefully
3 soon, but don't tell my girlfriend.
I'm still on my way to getting one. I'm happy with my X-Trail right now.
See, I managed to bag myself a 56 plate 110 Defender, the very last of the TD5 engines that were made, which proper Land Rover owners would consider that to be really the last Land Rover, considering that it's a Ford Transit engine in all the other Land Rovers, Defenders made since then. But nonetheless, the 4 millionth Land Rover rolled off. Was it the 4 millionth? No.
Yeah, a few months ago, the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it was 4 million.
It had
or
the plaque. It had to be the millionth, surely. They've been going for 60 years.
Google that while I'm talking about it.
You can Google that. Okay, do you want me to Google it?
Yeah, Google it while I'm talking about it. So the last Land Rover rolled off this week, literally yesterday. In fact, there was a picture of the guy, and I can't remember his name now, and there was a picture of him in the factory, and he had bought the very last Land Rover. So that's it's a pretty sad day really, because it's an icon of the countryside, and it's also an icon it's a British icon as well. And they've been around for such a long time, and there's something pretty magical about them that I think if you're into Land Rovers and into Defenders, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I've got it here. It's the 2 millionth Land Rover.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And it was sold for £400,000.
Wow.
The 2 millionth, and had
it's going to a museum though, isn't it? I thought that. I'm sure it's been donated to a museum.
What, the guy bought it and then donated it?
Yeah. I might be wrong, but I'm sure the 2 million.
Very, very thoughtful of the guy, whoever that is.
But I'm sure that's what I read.
It had a special plaque on it. So I'm Googling while we're doing this at the same time, because this is a very unrelaxed show that we're doing today.
But yeah, sorry, I've got something in my eye while I'm talking about this.
We're recording on YouTube now, and everyone's just seeing us.
That's why I'm rubbing my eye.
We don't know what we're doing. Googling, and Byron's rubbing his eye.
I don't know what
See, this is why we don't we never filmed it before.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what Land Rover come up with, and I just hope that they don't go ahead and butcher what is an icon and create something that is just unusable, because the concept cars certainly looked, I don't know what they were thinking.
There's quite a few designs floating around, and from my understanding is none of them are actually what they're going to go with.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure I read a press release from Land Rover. So.
We hope that's not the case.
Yeah, so hopefully we have something that is, I mean, they have a chance now to build the next generation of Defenders in a way that works.
Well, they have a chance of looking at every single part of it and going, what worked?
And what can we make better?
What can we make better? But like all car manufacturers, and I hate to say it, for some reason, sometimes they just lose their mind.
Yeah, we've seen it in the past.
Like you know, you had a Hilux, an amazing Hilux. The Hilux is now still great, but they had the older ones is what everyone would want.
Well, yeah, and I'm surprised. Well, the thing is that we don't get it here. But they make rest of world spec stuff, which is a bit different. But I did read, and I don't know if this is true, but I did read a rumor that they're still going to carry on making the Land Rover Defender, basically as it is right now, but they're going to move production to India and make it rest of world spec.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I did read it maybe 6 months ago.
From my understanding, it's really hard to get a Land Rover Defender into America.
Yeah,
because didn't they crush like 28? They arrived in the port and they didn't have the correct paperwork, and they don't adhere to the safety regulations at all.
Yeah, which is actually one of the reasons why they've had to stop making it as well, is because it's become too difficult to make it meet safety regulations, because it's basically a brick. It's got the aerodynamics of a brick, so it doesn't meet safety regulations for pedestrians. But yeah, so that's sad, and we'll see what happens.
Now, on other things that have been happening in the last few weeks, grey squirrels, Byron.
Yes,
they have
grey squirrels.
Well, on this
apart from being fat,
yes,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, in Wales, and there was pictures online, because we've had such a mild winter. The squirrels have been stocking up and just eating and eating and eating, and now they're obese. Because they haven't had to hibernate yet, and they've just
carried on piling on the pounds.
Up. So I'm hoping that there'll be actually a winter for them, so they can
go lose some pounds.
lose some pounds.
But I mean, on a more serious note than that,
so the grey squirrels have breached the Highland Protection Zone, which is in fact right here, where we are.
Literally where we're sitting. The line pretty much runs where this house is, all the way from East Coast by Montrose over to the West Coast, and it's It's an imaginary line, basically, that they wanted to try and keep grey squirrels below. And
Because
there's
quite a few reds. Well, we see reds.
Well, we've got
regularly.
a lot of red squirrels around here, but there was a picture taken at the House of Dunn, which is just literally just down
very
the road,
close to here.
Recently, which showed them on the other side of this protection line. But I have actually seen them. I wasn't aware of this protection line until
because I've seen them
because I've seen grey squirrels before. So I'm surprised it's such a surprise to these to the people. I'm not actually I don't know who the organization was.
No, it wasn't.
But I'm it shouldn't have come as much of a surprise because I've certainly seen them before. But wherever we see them, we try and shoot them.
Yeah, exactly.
Or trap them because we want to keep our native grey squirrels alive, and they are a massive threat to that. Native red squirrels alive. Slip of the tongue. Because the grey squirrels are a massive threat to them, and it's something that we did discuss.
We have discussed
some detail in a previous podcast. It was the
it's
one
the
that
Chris
mentioned
Packham
one.
Chris Packham one, where he mentions that we should.
Well, he was quite happy for grey squirrels to wipe out the reds. So
we do discuss that. So check that out. That's on our second.
Yeah. So if you agree or disagree with the idea that greys should carry on their merry way and wipe out or be part of the reason that red squirrels are being wiped out, then go and check out that podcast because it's an interesting chat.
It is. Now to some actually really sad news.
Yeah.
The British explorer Henry Worsley has passed away doing an Antarctic
solo.
He was going to be the first ever solo person to do that expedition, and from what I've read, he unfortunately passed away 30 miles from the end. Yeah,
through massive internal organ failure. So I don't think there's any more details than that right now, but incredibly ex-army officer and modern day explorer, and incredibly sad.
He was following in Shackleton's footsteps. That's what he was trying to achieve for the 100th anniversary of the Shackleton's expedition, which incidentally, someone we've had on the podcast, Chris, who's there right now, doing exactly the same thing with the Navy. He's not doing it solo though. He's doing it with other people. I'm not taking anything away from that, because doing it at all in any capacity is amazing. So if you want to hear Chris talking about the expedition that they're doing, then go and check out our earlier podcast.
We think it's podcast 4.
We think so. Yeah, but anyway, you'll see it because it says Antarctica on the title, so you can check out that podcast. And we are going to get updates from Chris.
He said he was going to, if he can, he's going to try and send us some updates. So when we come out with our new podcast, we'll see if we can add the updates. But certainly we'll add any updates to his expedition, well, the expedition that he's on our social media feeds on Facebook and what have you.
Yeah, exactly. Now on to other things, Byron. I wanted to bring up, this has just happened, the whales being washed up in Skegness. Yes, there's another one's just been washed up from, I believe.
You remember what it was? It was sperm whale.
Sperm whales, yes. Yeah. So they're washed up on the beach. And what I wanted to discuss was not really why they washed up, because I imagine there'll be someone working on that right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're 100% sure, but it does happen.
It does happen. But we want to discuss public reaction to something like this, and this is just a discussion. Just we'd like to hear what you guys think. Yeah, we'd like to on what we're away to say, basically, because so these whales have washed up on the beach. Fascinating creatures. If you've ever seen them in the wild, absolutely monstrous.
It's strange to think that something so big lives in our oceans.
It is amazing. And what's been happening is that there's hundreds and hundreds of people going down to the beach, and they're all taking selfies with this, smiling away at this dead carcass. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's absolutely fascinating to go.
I'd love to
see it.
I'd love to go and look at it just out of curiosity.
But the point that we're bringing up is, why is it acceptable to take your kids and yourself and go and take happy, smiley selfies and pictures next to this magnificent creature when, on the other hand, you would probably be heavily criticized for, let's say, a lion or a panda, I'm just giving examples here because it's cute and fluffy, was lying decomposing somewhere, and you're taking selfies next to this decomposing panda smiling. Why is it acceptable for one and not the other?
And more than that, they've actually been graffitied, haven't they?
Yes, they have. So someone has spray painted the whales with the Greenpeace sign or the peace sign, saying like humans did this. Well, why are you spray painting the whale? It's a little bit disrespectful.
Yeah, I think massively disrespectful. But yeah, it's a really interesting point how we treat some animals and the comparison between how we treat one animal and another. You know, we treat animals and fish that live, mammals and fish.
I mean, that's a mammal.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. Mammals and fish that live in the water.
Yeah. Very different.
The vast majority of fish live in the water. We treat creatures that live in water very differently to how we treat animals above ground, and it's a strange contradiction.
There was also pictures. Just wrapping up the whale thing. There's also pictures being emerged that are going quite viral, actually, of a gentleman pulling out teeth of the whale, and someone's taken a picture and saying, "Name and shame this guy for for pulling out the teeth of the whale." And in fact, they are actually dissecting the whales as well. Professional people are dissecting the whales to find out the cause of death and so on. I think they do that with every big mammal that washes up on the beach. They go and find out, because in fact we had a sea turtle wash up on the beach during our massive storms here in on the East Coast.
A couple
of weeks ago, and it gets cordoned off, and then the appropriate authorities come and collect it, and then they do autopsies on it. But going back to it, you know, he's yanking teeth out, and now there's a social media campaign to name and shame this guy yanking teeth out. What do you think? Do you think people should be allowed to yank teeth out of this dead animal?
Well, I think
taking a trophy effectively.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there are actually
I thought there was laws saying...
I think there are laws, and I'm not 100% up on them because it's not something I've ever done. But I think there are laws which mean that you can't do that. But I'd have to check that. But I mean...
I personally wouldn't go and yank out the tooth of a whale that just washed up on the beach. But if there was a complete skeleton of a whale washed up in the middle of nowhere, and there was just bits of it,
yeah, I mean,
and then you picked up a piece.
I like collecting skulls and bones and artifacts, not stuff that I've hunted or killed, but just because I'm intrigued by nature and how things are put together and the differences between, say, you know, a fox and well, anything else you could think, or a rat skull, or I found a dead hedgehog once, and I've got a dead hedgehog skull sitting in my collection there, and it fascinates me. So yeah, I mean, I have an interest in that, but you have to be careful with stuff that washes up on shore.
Yes,
and what the legalities are to that.
You do, but I think if it's like gold or something, I think you're welcome to it on the beach.
What, if gold washes up on shore? I think so.
I think you are, yeah. Oh, well, that's one because
I have never found any
that
gold.
That massive container ship came off the west coast, down south of England, and motorbikes were washing up, and people were just helping themselves. They had to get a court injunction to stop people doing it.
That was a long time ago.
That was a few years ago now. But moving on, now America has banned lion trophies being imported into the country.
Banned them from being imported. I can't remember what the date is, but it's very soon. I think it's within the next 2 weeks, because there were a lot of people going to Africa after the SHOT Show, which finished last weekend for us, for when we're recording this now, who were off to go and shoot their trophy lions in Africa so they could get it in before the date. But I mean, that was maybe a discussion in itself, but it does open up the question as to what is going to be the consequences of that. And I would think that the consequences, I don't have the numbers, but I can imagine that the vast majority of people that go and hunt lions in Africa are probably from America, or they certainly would have been historically.
A high percentage,
certainly a high percentage will be. Just because, you know, they've got a lot of hunters in America, and there are a lot of American clients that go to Africa. So the consequences of that will be that there will be less people going to hunt lions in Africa, and the knock-on consequences of that will be that they will start to not have the same value. So it's going to be interesting to see what the effects of that are for lions in Africa, and I am very much of the opinion that the more value an animal has, the greater the chances of you being able to protect it and manage it and save it. And there is certainly something to be said for lion hunting in Africa and how that is actually saving lions in certain areas. Because money is coming in. And it is in the interest to protect the populations of lions and manage them and this is true of any animal that you can go and hunt. Manage them to a level that is sustainable in the long term, because that is a revenue stream. And the bottom line is, if they have no value, they will become a pest, because lions like to eat things, and the easy things to eat are cattle,
sheep.
There are a lot
goats.
of lions killed in Africa every year because they are eating cattle, and as a result of killing that lion, absolutely nothing is going back. It's being killed by local people because they're taking livestock, and there's no money coming back in. There's no management as a result of it.
We talk about this with Michaela.
Yeah, we do.
In a few weeks'
time. So it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome of that is. And another spin-off to that is probably the next thing that was on your list.
Indeed, South Africa is not issued any licenses to hunt leopard.
Yeah, so again, it's going to be a similar sort of story. That's a strange one, because leopard hunting there has been closed in certain areas, like the Eastern Cape, for example. I know it's been closed for quite a number of years, and the ridiculous thing about it is that there's actually a lot of leopards there, and the reason for them closing it, apart from probably having an infiltration of green type influences in government, in a government that is incredibly corrupt anyway, if
you want to call it a functioning government,
is that they say that because they're so secretive, they don't know what the numbers are. But I mean, when I've been there, the evidence of leopards in some places I've been in the Eastern Cape is phenomenal. I've never seen such densities of leopards as there are there. So I think FASA, the Association for Professional Hunters in South Africa, are probably going to be fighting that, but it might be a bit of a lost cause.
Yeah.
We'll see. But those are the two kind of big game stories to come out in this last week.
Yeah. So we move on to some videos and films we want to discuss now.
Yeah, a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, it is. Now, Byron brought up a video. I have not actually seen it yet. He promises me it's good, and it's called Path of the Grey Owl by Ray Mears.
Yeah, it really is. It's an exceptional piece of cinematography. It's such a great story. It's on YouTube. What did I say it was called? The Path of Grey Owl.
You told me it was Path of Grey Owl.
I think it's The Path of Grey Owl.
Wait, what's it on?
Grey
YouTube
Owl,
and Vimeo? Or Vimeo?
Certainly on YouTube. I'm not sure about Vimeo. But Grey Owl was actually a First Nation Indian, except he wasn't a First Nation Indian because he was actually from England. But he went over there basically to join the First Nation people up in Canada. And it's the story about how he was one of the very early conservationists up there. It's not in the normal sort of Ray Mears style in terms of filming, which is kind of very factual documentary. It really is a beautiful piece of cinematography. I can't remember the name of the director, but you're definitely going to have a look at it. Ray Mears is brilliant in it, and the story itself is fantastic. So it's a video well worth checking out.
Now, talking about beautiful cinematography, in the last week I went to go and see The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio. Byron has not seen it.
No. I was away.
He was away, so he hasn't seen it, and he is going to go and see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to give anything away whatsoever because it's a beautifully filmed movie. It's about the fur trade.
I mean, I know a little bit about the story. The story in itself is incredible.
Yeah, it's based on a true story. So you can actually find out the true story if you want. Go and look online. I'm sure it'll be easier, but I'm not going to tell you about the story because
it might give us something.
But
you're basically saying go check it out and go watch it.
Yeah, go. It's well worth. The storyline is really good, but it's beautifully shot. So if you're into if you enjoy looking for cinematography and stuff like that, it's really well shot. And I hope Leo wins an Oscar for it because he certainly crawled his way through this one to like he's done in a few movies. He's been crawling his way to an Oscar.
Yeah. From the trailer I've seen, he literally was crawling his way.
Yeah, crawling his way to an Oscar.
But he's I don't know what his views on hunting are. I think they might actually be anti-hunting, but I've never heard him say anything. But he is a guy who speaks up a lot about conservation and saving
Yeah.
the planet. Maybe we could get him on the podcast. I mean, we're already going to get Chris Pratt, so
Chris Pratt, Leo, you know.
we can try.
You're aiming high here.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well,
We've got Josh James on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Can please everyone turn off their phones? Let's.
Don't look at me. I think that was you.
Oh dearie me!
It was you.
It is me.
Yes.
But we're going to move up because we're almost at the end here because this is our short show for everyone. We're just going to talk about a few Facebook pages that people should maybe check out.
Yeah, if you are into hunting in particular, then there's a Facebook page called Hunting. Just Hunting, just search that and you'll find it's got a little the profile pictures you can see the end of the open end of a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's a really great page. The quality of content on there is just quite phenomenal. I mean, the pictures are fantastic.
Yeah,
the stories are great.
Always really high quality content on there.
Yeah, it's got about 170,000 people following it right now. It deserves a lot more because it's a superb page, and there's a lot of historical stuff on there as well. I mean, I learn a lot just by seeing that in my feed. I've actually favorited that so it comes to the top of my feed, which is something you should do to all the pages, including ours, that you like to follow. Is go and favorite them so they come to the top of your news feed.
Indeed. But I think that's.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. There's no other pages you wanted to mention?
Should we mention a few other pages?
Well, I've started listening to a podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience. He's worth checking out.
Mentioning another podcast.
Yeah, he's...
don't shy away from ours,
he's he's a bit of a controversial character.
He is.
He's a hunter, actually, but he's also a UFC commentator and a stand-up comedian, so he's got
a few things in the bag, and he does get some very big guests.
Oh, yeah, he's had the likes of Jim Shockey, he's had Solo Hunter on... Along with, I mean, I listened to one with Lance Armstrong the other day, which obviously was nothing to do with hunting and all about drugs, but it was a really
drugs and Lance Armstrong.
No.
He doesn't do drugs.
It was actually it was a very, very good podcast. But yeah, he's an interesting guy, and he puts up a lot of intriguing facts and figures on his Facebook page as well. As well as I don't really use Twitter, but he has a Twitter feed as well, which is good. And not just to do with hunting. In fact, the vast majority of it isn't to do with that, but it's interesting nonetheless. So he's a podcast definitely worth checking out if you like that sort of thing. But not if you're easily offended, because he dropped a lot of F-bombs.
Though that's been happening more recently on our show.
Not by us, though.
No, not by us. But
yeah.
that's been happening more on our show as well from our international guests.
Yeah. In terms of other pages, Angus Glenn's Merlin Group, you should go and check that out. We've been involved a little bit in the start of that in terms of video content. We made some videos for them, which you should also go and have a look at.
Just type in
The Untold Story.
The Untold Story, any of them.
Shooting.
So Untold Story, Driven Grouse Shooting, Untold Story, The Modern Gamekeeper, and the Untold Story, Merlin Biodiversity, which, in fact, we can talk about this for a minute. It makes me very sad. So a lot of work went into this film, not just by us, because we made the film.
Most of the work didn't go. I mean, we did all the film work on it, but the work was actually the reports that were in the film, which was over a lot of work.
So it was done by over 3 estates, and basically I've completely mind blank.
It was
what are they called? The people that count.
Ecologists.
Ecologists. That's what I was looking for. So basically, they went and counted every species that they could find, and this doesn't just include grouse. This is literally insects, birds, mammals, anything you can think of. They count it,
and also the actual habitat itself.
Yeah, so it's also plants as well, and then they produce a report, but they don't just count it in one day. They don't just go, oh, well, I saw, one hare.
There's a lot of work goes into it.
And it's not just one person. There's many people that go. So they go and count, and then the reports were put out, and then we made this film. And my personal belief, not because I made the film, is that not enough people have watched it or shared it.
Because there's some really great information
considering that it is fact. This isn't made up. And also, I like to think that the film is actually quite nicely made. There's some beautiful wildlife photography in it.
Yeah, really
that
good.
we didn't actually film ourselves. A friend of ours filmed. And so it's worth watching just to see.
And if nothing else, it's worth sharing on any of
Yeah.
the social media platforms that you use, if you do use them, just so that you can get the message out to maybe those people who don't know what's going on and maybe not that involved in the countryside, and especially for those people who think that all areas that are managed for hunting are just deserts.
Barren wastelands.
You really need to share it because it's so important. And it is it's not a particularly long film. It's only 10 minutes long.
I don't think it's even as long as that.
Maybe 8 minutes.
It's
long.
actually I think one of the shortest one of the three.
And it's pretty easy watching. And it was actually shown in the Scottish Parliament.
It was, yep.
It was shown in its full glory.
It was inside Parliament, which is really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And our other film, which was the
Driven Grouse,
that was also shown to MSPs as well.
I don't. It was certainly mentioned, and it was also mentioned. It was also
motion in Parliament, which is pretty cool. And that one is way by far our most popular. For some reason, people love Driven Grouse shooting or like watching.
They like that film. I mean, that film was the behind the scenes of Driven Grouse shooting. It's sort of the true story, if you like, the story that you don't hear. So if you want to know what's really going on, you need to go and watch it.
It is. In fact, we've not really had a chance to really talk about that film, and it is raw and honest. There's no script.
No. We just did the interviews.
You know, we took these gamekeepers up on the hill with no prior question or priming, and we asked them, and
that's what came off the top of the head.
That's what came out.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. But anyway, we started that discussion because you need to go and check the Angus Glens Merlin Group Facebook page.
That's fine.
Because they have a lot of good content on it, especially if you live in the area that we live. But even if you live outside it, it's they put a lot of good stuff on it. They do put a lot
of... And there probably is a Merlin Group in your area as well.
Yeah, there probably is, yeah.
So
and in fact, there's a Grampian Merlin Group just about to start.
There is a Grampian one.
Which is also going to be run by Leanne, who looks after the Angus Glens Merlin Group.
Indeed. Now... we can't go through that and not talk about our films because this podcast and video is going to be out the week before the British Shooting Show.
Oh, it is, yes, which is the premiere of our series Into the Wilderness.
It is indeed. I'm very excited about this.
In fact, the next thing we need to do is speak to the man who is going to be in charge of organising the screen. So that people can watch it.
We've been doing lots of editing behind me. You can see behind me here. That's one of the screens. There's more screens that you can't see. Sorry, I'm not even talking to my microphone anymore. There's more screens this way that you can't see that we've been doing lots of hard work, which we're going to continue to do lots of hard work on. And it's going to premiere at the British Shooting Show. So if you're there, hop along to the Vortex stand.
Yeah, Vortex or the Fortress stand as well.
From my understanding, there should be, hopefully in time, a press release from...
Oh, yes. Yeah, there should be a press release on the British Shooting Show.
From the British Shooting Show.
About the release of the
with more details with the series. But we will be floating around as well. Me and Byron will be at the show. You'll see us.
Black T-shirts.
With our faces our faces on the back. Say hello to us, and yeah, it'll be good. I'm
looking forward to meeting everybody.
It's not necessarily going to be the first episode that's been shown. So you might have to wait. If you're not at the British Shooting Show, you might have to wait like 3 months to see that particular episode.
Yeah, so, well, just to finish this up then, so the plan is we have currently filmed 3 of 6 episodes for the series. We are about to start filming episode 4 in a matter of days, actually. And we will be releasing the very first of them towards the end of February. Possibly the first week in March. We're not quite sure exactly. But thereafter, they'll be released 1 every 4 weeks. And if you want to see them first, you will have to subscribe to an online magazine. And we will give you the details of all the magazines that will be getting exclusively slightly nearer to the time. But
rest assured, if you don't subscribe to the magazine...
Oh, no, it's not a problem.
Not a problem.
You just have to wait 1 week longer.
You just wait 1 week longer.
Yeah.
But that's not to say you shouldn't go and check out the magazine, because they are good magazines as well.
Yeah, but we'll send you the details for those. So if you do want to see them...
Send it to them personally.
No.
Though saying that, we've actually started a mailing list.
Oh, yeah, so we could actually
So we can actually send it to you personally. So if you go on, just type in Pace Productions UK, it'll be probably the first website that comes up. And then when you go in there, you can see the Into the Wilderness tab. Click
Yeah.
on that, and then you'll see mailing list.
Yeah.
And if you join the mailing list, then we can send you important stuff. We promise not to clutter your
No, we
your
won't send
inbox
stuff out very often.
unless it's
but just the
unnecessary. So it's
important. No,
just
unless it's necessary.
sorry, unless it's necessary. We'll just send you stuff unnecessarily.
Yeah, so yeah, you can do that. But we'll provide all the information slightly closer to the time because we're still a good few weeks away from that yet. But
Yes.
we're quite excited about the launch, and we hope that everybody's going to enjoy it because it is quite a lot different to anything that's out there at the moment, certainly from this country. And well, I'm not going to say any more because we just want you to enjoy it. But if you do want to see or have a slight idea of what it's going to be about, we already have one trailer out.
We do.
It's not very long. It's less than a minute. But
Yeah, it's
it
40
gives you
seconds or something.
It gives you an insight. And in the next couple of weeks, probably actually very close to when this podcast actually goes out, there will be an extended trailer where you actually get to see a little bit more of us talking.
Indeed. And if you want to, well, not just see it first, but be notified about that, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And you'll see those films. So if you type in Pace Brothers Into the Wilderness, that's our YouTube channel. So check that out, and that will have all our videos on it. All of our podcast videos, this one that you could be watching right now, are all migrating to a different YouTube channel. So
called
Podcast, Pace Brothers Podcast.
Pace Brothers Podcast.
We'll have more details up on here, but basically from now on, all of the podcast shows will be on a separate channel to the series show, just to keep things separate and you can find stuff easier. That's the plan anyway, and it's the same on Facebook. So if you want to check out both our Facebook pages, do that. Give us a like on both of them, and don't forget to press the dots.
Yes, to favorite it. And if you are a bit of a cinematic geek and you like watching stuff in super full HD and all that
you can download
sumptuous
it.
glory, then check out Vimeo.
Yeah, Vimeo.
In fact, we encourage people to actually watch Vimeo instead of YouTube.
There's no adverts on it.
There's no adverts, and it just looks better.
Yeah,
so
it
if
does. It does look better.
Yeah, if you've got the time. I mean, it takes about the same time as it would.
It does.
Yeah.
You don't need to sign up or anything like that.
Nothing. You just go on Vimeo. It's a really nice
yeah.
platform, and it's a lot more cinematic type films going.
And like I was just saying, you can download it. So
yeah, you could keep it.
So you can keep it. Don't steal anything though, because we'll know. Oh, hang on. Yeah, so don't steal anything and download it, and it means that when our series comes out, you can actually just download it and watch it on your morning commute, or don't.
You're telling people to watch the series on their morning commute.
They might get on a train.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean prop it up while you're driving.
I was just thinking of all the accidents you're about to cause, or people are trying to watch us on our series during their morning drive to work.
I'm talking people that get on the train or the tube or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, right. We're not going to keep you any longer because this needs to be a short one.
We're not. We said it was going to be a short one, and we'll try and keep it that way. So, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and of course on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, and on iTunes, leave a review. Please give us 5 stars. In fact, Byron, I feel like a competition.
You didn't tell me about this.
We're going to give something away, and we've given away some pretty cool stuff so far. So, over the next few weeks, probably the next few weeks, we're not even going to give you a time. We're just going to...
You know what we could... We'd have to speak to Oliver at Fortis, but we can maybe give away one of the T-shirts. With our...
Hey, that's an idea.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be okay.
We'll
wash them before we send them out, but the T-shirts that we'll be wearing... At the not the very ones, but because we've got spare ones. But the T-shirts that we'll be wearing at the British Shooting Show, we can give one of them away, as long as it's in small or medium, because those are the only 2 sizes we've got.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll give something away. We'll sort something out. But so leave us a review, and in the next few weeks we'll pick somebody. We'll pick someone, and we'll give you a prize. And if you're at the British Shooting Show, then we might give you another prize.
Yeah.
We'll see. There'll be a prize. We'll think about the prizes, but leave us a review. 5 stars. You know you want to. Thank you very much for listening.
Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon.